3E, petition of John Keir requests City Council requests City Clerk read the exact wording of Rule 15, relinquishing the chair for purposes of expression whenever the chairperson wants to respond to a city councilor who is speaking. Name and city residence, please.
John Edward Keogh, Worcester. I just want to correct the writing here. It wasn't for every time the chair relinquishes. It was just a single reading on the floor to remind the councilors of the rule in question. Often, Mayor Petty and several other committees, not just the ones that the councilors are a part of, but some of the other public bodies that meet, the chairperson will often interrupt. And the rule is that they have to engage in a conversation, is step down from the position of chair, relinquish it to someone else who becomes the chair, and then be acknowledged as a speaker. And this is something that has happened more and more over the past year as there's been more emotion and expression during the meetings. And so for a reminder's purpose, I asked for the rule to be read by the clerk in relation to the incident between Mayor Petty and Councilor King, which was just the most recent public example, but in some of the other non-councilor operated bodies in the city of Worcester, this is a very common issue where the chair is interrupting the other members. And so this rule should be applied broadly to every body that's related to the charter, but I would just like it to be read once. That is my request.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody online, Claire?
Through the chair, we have several members of the public online at this time, so I ask if you'd like to speak that you raise your hand or dial *9.
I'm going to go to the public first, and
Okay.
then we'll go to the folks online. Name and city residence, please.
Fred Nathan Worcester. The only thing I'll say on this item that you got before us is just remember there is a thing called Robert's Rules of Order, period.
Okay, next, please.
David Webb, City of Worcester. I'm so glad someone else brought up Robert's Rules of Order. What a patriarchal sense of, the epitome of systematic problems, supportive of one person being the resource of information, determining factors, allowing variables to be applied differently in different situations rather than consistently and equitably. The reason I'm in support of 3D and 3E, having the city clerk read Rule 15, relinquishing the chair for the purpose of expression, whenever, or as correctly phrased by the petitioner, the chairperson wants to respond to a city councilor. I appreciate that Mayor Petty has, in fact, been stepping down to express his opinions in recent meetings, but that wasn't as consistent a practice until after this petition was brought forward, and it should have been the entire time. So, for what it's worth, decorum is the responsibility of the chair to maintain. The lack of it falls on him, not the public, not the rules. So this is less about decorum and more about civility, which really comes down to complacency.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
Yes, I would also like to speak about this.
Name and city residence, please.
Fianna Jatan Singh, 37 County Street, Worcester, Massachusetts, candidate for District 3 School Committee. I believe everybody here knows who I am. Thank you.
That's the rule, so we're going to follow.
Okay, well, as we're talking about that same rule, I would like to reiterate what David Webb just said. I've attended many school committee meetings also, and the city mayor has not stepped down several times of recent that I've recollected when he was speaking, giving his opinion about different things. So this rule should be enforced across the board. Like he said, it shouldn't just be whenever the mayor feels like following the rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am all for the chair stepping down for the purpose of expression.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Vangeli, can I ask you, is this, I know there's one incident that's been referred to, but in your time as clerk or assistant clerk, is this something that's a real issue? I mean, I don't have any issue with the request, but has this become an issue over time?
Through the chair to the council. So basically, my understanding based on the rules is Rule 14 says the chair conducts the meeting, and the chair shall preserve decorum, order, and may speak to points of order. My understanding is the chair relinquishes the chair for the purpose of expression when it comes to expressing an opinion on an item before the city council or under debate of the city council. So there's two things. There's a point of order clarification that the chair can do from the chair, And if the mayor or, the chair of a committee is, in this case, it doesn't really apply to committees, it only applies to city council. But if the chair or the vice chair, whoever's in that seat, is, making a statement about an item under consideration, it's one thing, but if it's asking for a point of order, the chair does not have to relinquish the chair because the point of order could be to get the meeting under control.
Okay, so I think this is asking relinquishing for purposes of expression, so I'm assuming that's situation where the mayor steps down, vice mayor steps in for the mayor to speak on an item. So how do we, is there a way for us to do that better so there's less awkwardness, I guess is maybe the word I'm looking for?
I think based on Rule 14, if it's a point of order clarification, the mayor does not have to step down. Based on Rule 15, if the mayor is making a statement on an order or a resolution, and he's, I think, made those statements on the floor in the past, that's the case that he would step down.
Is that up to him or up to you to announce?
Through the chair to the council. So basically, it's up to the chair. The chair conducts the meeting. Based on the rules, the city clerk provides the agenda for the meeting and also takes the minutes and does the roll calls. And when asked by the chair or the members of the city council, can provide clarification on the rules along with the solicitor, but it is not the responsibility of the clerk to lead the meetings. It's the responsibility of the chair or the committee chairman or chairperson.
Thank you. Councilor Clorio or Councilor Hayda?
I just have one question through the chair to the city clerk. So this is not a rule for subcommittee meetings, am I correct on that?
Through the chair to the council, there is really no rules when it comes to subcommittee decorum or subcommittee guidance. I think in most cases, this is for city council.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, through the chair to the committee, in subcommittees, you're sitting around a table. You don't necessarily need to stand when you're making the back and forth. Subcommittees are mostly intended for public hearings and for actions that take a longer time. That's why I think the rules were not explicit to say that you have to stand or make any movement when it comes to expression.
Thank you.
Councilor Hayda? I think let me go to our city solicitor, Attorney Kalkunas. Is there anything, if I made a chairman's order asking the mayor to ask the clerk to recite that rule when the situation occurs, would that offend in any way the charter or the rules?
Through the chair, I don't think it would, if the body adopts that, it would not offend it.
Because my thinking is, I'm sorry to interrupt, my thinking is that the mayor steps down, he just announces to the clerk, I'm stepping down pursuant to Rule 15, and then the clerk just says, for expression only, not for, but I want the clerk to weigh in on this.
Through the chair to the committee, basically, the mayor doesn't have to notify the clerk based on the rules. The mayor notifies the vice chair that he's stepping down, and if the mayor does not relinquish the chair, 6 members of the city council can challenge the mayor to step down. There's no role for the clerk to dictate to the mayor to step down. And the mayor, and as the solicitor clarified, the mayor interprets the rules. So unless the mayor relinquishes the chair, the only other, any other member of the city council can ask for a point of order to the mayor and ask the mayor to step down. If there are 6 votes, then the mayor can relinquish the chair. But in my opinion, as the clerk, I don't think I have, unless, the mayor advises me to read the statement during the meeting, I don't have a role to ask the mayor to step down.
Councilor Clorio?
I'm just thinking here, and one of the things I'm thinking about is, we have something in place, which is for the members of the council to advocate a, clarification or, point of order to ask the mayor to step down. And from what I'm hearing from the clerk, I think that's where it should originate, not the clerk and not a dictating a rule for us to, not for us to read, for the city clerk to read. But I'm just trying to understand this as well. Thank you.
Councilor Hayda? So, in some respects, this doesn't seem like a giant ask, but in other respects, it's complicated by the roles that everybody has and the jurisdiction everybody has over who can do what. So, Councilor Hayden? Oh, Mr. Keough?
Just for
Just
clarification.
for consistency.
Yep, John Keough, City of Worcester.
Thank you.
It's only a single reading. There was never an ask for every single time. It was just for the council to be reminded of the rule. It was a request for the clerk to read the rule one time. That's it. Just a single reminder of the rule, not every single time. And in this particular case, the situation that exacerbated, the mayor did not say the phrase "point of order"
I understand.
until after the argument had commenced and had been going on for a little while. Then he did, and then blah, you guys were all here. So the point is I would just like the rule read one time, and the person who would read the rule in this case happens to be the clerk. That's the only request. Actually, any counselor could make a point of order and just read the rule themselves if they wanted to. I just wanted to remind the council of the actual rules of council. That's it.
No, so I appreciate the clarification, and I'm not interpreting this as whenever. I am interpreting it as at one time, but the request is for the clerk to read it. We're hearing from the solicitor and the clerk that that's not their role. It's not even that they don't want to touch it. This is specifically under the authority of the chair to determine this. So that's the challenge on how to do this. Mr. Webb?
David Webb, City of Worcester. Through the chair, to, I guess, the solicitor, is this body able to make, for example, a chairman's order to have the chair of the city council have the clerk of the city council do exactly what this requests? Or
So let me just stop this, solicitor, 1 second. If I could stand to be corrected, and we're going to get an answer to your question from me to the city solicitor, but you can't directly ask the city solicitor as an audience member.
that's why I put it through the chair.
Well, I still think you can't do it though, but either way, we're going to get you your answer. So, Attorney Kalkunis?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, could there be a chairman's order directing the clerk to read the rule?
Directing the mayor to direct the clerk, since we established that this body cannot ask the clerk to do
I believe
anything.
I've asked that question, but go ahead.
Through the chair, so the mayor is the ultimate interpreter of the rule. The committee could, put a chairman's order. It wouldn't, it's not within the authority for the clerk to do that. To be directing the mayor interprets the rules. So the way to succeed in that would be a point of order at the meeting. It would not be to, direct the mayor to do something.
So it's a point of order that's our responsibility to make, not the clerk's, if the mayor doesn't state they're relinquishing their role based on the need to express. Is that correct? All right.
So I have 2 points of clarity here. One, it sounds like based on Rule 14 is not just that the chair, or in this situation, the mayor, actually interprets every single rule in every moment. It is also that no one else has the authority to tell him what the rules are.
So to the city solicitor, the question is, what role does this body have in telling subcommittee body have in telling the mayor how to interpret the rules?
Through the chair, this committee does not have a role in that. However, if the body would challenge a decision of the mayor's, that's how you.
But that's not done here. That's done
At the council meeting.
as it's happening in real time.
Yep.
Okay. Was there another question?
Yeah, I guess it was going to be different, but for the sake of actual clarity, through the chair, if Mayor Petty interprets a point of order or anything else to mean that everyone in this room has to do the chicken dance, and only five, not six of the city council vote to what happens, just for clarity.
So to the city solicitor, what methods exist for the body, excluding the mayor, to make sure the mayor stays in line as far as interpreting the rules respectfully?
But through the chair, you would challenge the decision of the mayors
So,
at the meeting.
Mr. Chair, sorry, Madam Solicitor, I just want to interrupt you for 1 minute here. Basically, Rule 14 states that any ruling of the chair shall be subject to an appeal by the city council made by a motion of any city councilor. No other business shall be in order until the question of the appeal shall be decided by the city council. The question shall be put as follows. Shall a decision of the chair stand as the judgment of the city council? The vote of the roll call shall be decided affirmative unless the majority of the vote of the city council are contrary. So the city council itself has a mechanism built on the Rule 14 that can challenge the ruling of the chair at any given point during the meeting. And the point of this committee is to review the rules. I don't know if the committee itself can direct the mayor in a certain direction when it affects the city council meeting.
No, I understand your answer.
So if Mayor Petty decides tonight that that one of the rules is interpreted in a way that everyone in the chamber has to do the chicken dance, then everyone in the chamber has to do the chicken dance, or else we're in violation of city rules. Just to be clear.
Well, if I may, I think the example is a bit extreme.
Okay. Well, if Mayor Petty determines that someone was speaking in support of a genocide or against a genocide, then that is what the minutes reflect. So we can use a different extreme if you would like.
Well, then it's still extreme. I'm just going to say that as a city councilor, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure my colleagues agree. We listen to the mayor's rulings, and if the rulings we feel are inappropriate, we could challenge the chair. But that's not something this subcommittee is going to create a rule to do. That's something that has to happen
Sure, then,
as it happens.
I guess for the sake of the public transparency and making sure these rules are actually used, can we get a report on how many times in the past decade someone has called for a vote questioning the decision of the chair in city council?
I don't have an issue with that. Do you have an issue with that?
Sir.
Either one of you?
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, and I apologize to the committee, I think at this point you're allowing residents to petition MLO to petition the city council.
Yeah, so I actually am the chair on it, and I'll have to make the determination on what chairman's orders I want to make and don't want to make. So I appreciate the suggestion. I've heard it, and I think we've kind of, I wouldn't say beaten this one down, but I think we've discussed what the options are, and they're very limited. Councilor Hayden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we're kind of get a little too far away from the actual petitioner's order or request or ask. Just someone to read relinquishing the chair for the purpose of expression, just that wording of Rule 15, just likes to hear it one time only, and then we can move on from this.
Yeah, but the problem, if I may, if I'm understanding both the city solicitor and our clerk, is that it's not the clerk's job to do that. It's the mayor's role to interpret
Right,
that.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Sure.
what I'm saying is that I don't think the petitioner cares who's reading it as long as it's said.
But who's going to read it?
That's something we can figure that out then, I guess.
Well, I don't feel it's appropriate to read one particular rule because of one incident that happened. I mean, I think all these rules should be read over and over and over again. But that's going to take place because we're going to have signs and we're going to have agenda items that are going to have copies of the rules, and we're going to have flyers that have the rules. So why would I single out one rule for me or anyone else to must read when there are so many rules in the charter that have to be, that the council rules have to be read? I mean, I think that's a little.
No, I agree with that. In the beginning, when I first started, I was talking with Nico regarding the rules of signs and things like that, and understanding what residents can do, what can they say, where they can sit, where they can't sit, what time they're supposed to be here, and things like that. So I think some of the stuff can get maybe lost or maybe forgotten with just the amount of work and time we're coming in being done. So I understand where the petition's coming from, but I also understand where you're coming from as well. We just need to figure that out. But again, maybe a sign or something reminding people of the rules. That goes back to the suggestion I had made months ago about having a TV screen. Again, it could have a rolling rules or just something so people understand expectations in the building.
I have no objection to holding this and seeing if there's some more creative solution can come out, but I don't have one right now. And we have other items, and we have a 6:30 city council meeting. And with all due respect to the petitioner, I don't deem this as an emergency. I respect the item, and that's why I want to give it some more time. So do my colleagues have any objection to holding it? So Claire, would you take a roll call? Mr. Webb, you have something new to add to this item?
Yes, I just want to specifically respond to your question about why would you single out one rule, or in this, and I think it is notable that you singled out one purpose from the open meeting law in your order to the council that we are going to be hearing later tonight. So in regards to why would you single out one rule, the reason is probably because someone recognizes that that one rule has been applied inconsistently and would like for the general public and the council to be aware of the rule so that it can be upheld consistently.
So I'm not going to go one-on-one or tit for tat. Let me just say I've been in the council 12 years. One time, there was a controversy over the mayor stepping down. That's why I'm not going to single out this rule. One time in 12 years. Take a roll call, please, Claire.
Through the chair, do you want to note that there is a resident online with their hand raised?
Oh, absolutely, we'll take.
Point of order, wasn't he supposed to step down for that?
I've unmuted the resident now. If you could state your name and city of residence.
Sure. Tom Marino, City of Worcester. I certainly understand and believe the solicitor is exactly correct about with her analysis. However, much like we spend hours sometimes in city council meetings on orders that ask or request the city manager to do something, or request the city manager to request, I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't believe that there's anything that would prohibit this committee from requesting that the mayor request this, the clerk or whomever it is that would be appropriate to read a rule.
My interpretation, if I may, I don't mean to cut you off from the city solicitor, is that is incorrect, that we have no authority to ask the clerk, to ask the mayor to do that. City solicitor, would you respond?
Through the chair, so I think the question was to direct the mayor, right? That's a little bit different. You could send a chairman's order asking for a report or for the mayor to consider something. But the point is that the ultimate authority of interpretation of the rules comes from the mayor. So
I'm having trouble hearing you, I'm sorry.
the mayor is the one who ultimately interprets the rules, so we can ask that, but at the end of the day, it's his decision. He could suspend the rules and.
Mr. Marino, if I cut you off, please continue.
No, I believe it was, but it's just, I don't think there's anything that, he could decline if it's a request, right? Or if it's not something that you can impose upon him.
But that's where we're at right now. What would the difference be? Right now, we're at that. I'm going to hold this item anyways. As I said, I respect it enough that there needs some more discussion, but I don't have any answer right now, and I'm going to hold it. So the motion, my colleagues agree, we'll have a more opportunity to discuss. Mr. Webb, did you have something else you were going to add? Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll call, please?
Councilor Ojeda?
Yes.
Councilor Clorio?
Yes.
And Chairperson Councilor Bergman?
Yes, that's the motion to hold.